Hi viewers, my name's Mike Herrmann and I'm the new CEO of Valgus Group. For those of you that aren't familiar with the group, we're a proudly Malaysian company, Petronas licensed and based here in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, where we manage and operate the Maersk Centre of Excellence, which is about 10 minutes walk from the iconic Petronas Towers here in the CBD. Valgus Group itself is an internationally accredited training provider in the disciplines of emergency and crisis management and also the applications of Incident Command Systems, or ICS. We provide our training consultancy services to a broad cross-section of industries, but predominantly to the competency and preparedness needs of the global oil and gas industry. I want to take the opportunity today to address you personally to elaborate on some recent important announcements that we've made over our digital media platforms, in particular pertaining to our approval from OPITO to deliver remote, and by remote I mean online, OIM CE and CRO assessments. And to that I wanted to add some important background and context so that you could appreciate the short history and the concept of what's involved in the process. What these approvals represent are options that until now have never before been made available to the industry. So that fact alone, coupled with a substantial change in the delivery method, represents some pretty big changes that deserve a bit more detailed explanation. So previously these assessments were only ever approved to be delivered at an OPITO approved training provider's location, physical location, but the assessments can now be delivered completely online. And that's every step of the process, from delivery, certification, post-course admin. Every single step of the process can now be delivered online. Now this gives companies an option, and it's important to remember that it's an option, not a replacement of the old method. It's an option. An option not to have to relocate a candidate to a training centre anymore to receive these certifications. Now immediately this represents savings in terms of logistics, costs saved by not having to move the candidate to a location, and also time savings to the candidate by not having to travel himself to a location, spend time in hotels, airports. It's valuable time that can now be spent with the candidate's family rather than in a movement. With all that said, what's still very important to us as a training provider, certainly important to OPITO in the industry, is that in providing this new option, we must still demonstrate that we're able to use the new option and deliver effectively and with quality to meet the same standard that was available by assessment in a physical location. And that's really the core message of my delivery today. It's very important to remember that even though there's a new online assessment option, every training provider who wishes to seek approval to deliver this option must still guarantee and demonstrate to OPITO through a meticulous auditing process that the same standards and quality are not compromised in any way. The OPITO standard for OMCE and CRO must still be met. At the end of the day, if the training provider cannot demonstrate that they're able to do that, then they will not be granted approval from OPITO. It's as simple as that. Now, we wouldn't expect it any other way, and we certainly wouldn't want it any other way either. But to anyone who is familiar with OPITO's physical and staff resource requirements and what is required to deliver these assessments using conventional methods, that is at a training centre, will certainly appreciate just how many gaps and challenges are needed to be addressed in order to achieve OPITO's approval for this to be conducted online. So we immediately sat down and set about trying to make this exciting new option a reality for industry. So the first step for us was to redesign a simulation model platform that was fit for online delivery, and one that was going to be able to help compensate for what was physically removed as a result of the new method. So for us, it wasn't just about maintaining the access and visibility of alarms and distribution control. It now also became about additional capabilities and helping compensate for things such as communications methods, picking up a radio that was previously available at the training centre. So we began what was ultimately hundreds of hours of developing code, testing, retesting new technology, new concepts suited to an online delivery that would meet the expected standard. And not just OPITO's, but our own high standards as a company. We were able to do that, I'm happy to say, with the commissioning of the Trident Virtual Command Centre, or TVCC. which has a lot of the old capabilities of the previous simulation model, but also a lot more. And in communicating this to you, I also want to publicly acknowledge the primary architect of this achievement, and that was our very own IT engineer and business partner, Mr David Baker, who was pushed and pulled in every which way by myself and our founder, Tim Alsop, almost every hour of the process to achieve what we needed to achieve. So we have the essential platform for online delivery. Next, we created 2 digital environments, 2 rooms here fit for purpose to provide the appropriate environment or hubs from which to originate the assessments online. Now, with there being no need for the candidates to physically travel to us, we felt that these rooms needed to be available for activation 24 hours a day to suit the time zone of the candidate undergoing assessment. It was essentially us having to take the assessment to the candidate now that we're offering the assessments online. Now, fortunately for us, the Mercer Centre of Excellence is open 24 hours a day all year round anyway. So fulfilling our and it's already fulfilling our operational commitments to industry through backup ECCs and live vessel tracking. So us to meet that challenge was relatively easy. So we're also pleased to now say that the remote assessments, online assessments, can be done at any time of the day from our assessment hubs here in KL. Then came a commitment to broadening our staff training and professional development and their skill sets to be able to coordinate and operate efficiently and effectively to ensure the realism and meet the standards in the new digital environment using the new digital tools such as the TVCC, the Zoom platform, and how to now communicate without the use of physical tools such as handheld radios. Something we did start to quickly appreciate was that if practical scenarios were to be delivered at the same standard and have the same realism, a far greater demand was placed on the instructional staff's workload in both managing the scenarios and role-playing in particular throughout the scenarios, which is especially the case for the OIM CE assessments, where obviously the online method removes the physical presence of up to 5 of his ECT team members. It's not acceptable that interaction simply be removed at all. It shouldn't disappear just because of a transition to an online environment. The standard expects to see management of those team members, so that responsibility now rests with the role players. And to keep up and not compromise realism, they must be incredibly dynamic, coordinated, and experienced to respond appropriately in support of the OEM. But with a lot of hard work and innovation and creativity, we've achieved that. We saw necessary to implement a new internal training and competency process as well that was specific to meet the needs and competencies required for successful online assessments. We weren't going to seek OPITO approval until we thought we had every aspect addressed, every possible gap touched on. We wanted to meet, as I said, not just OPITO standards, but our own expectations as well. Now, along this journey, we had no specific guidelines to follow for online assessments other than existing OPITO standards. This was unprecedented new ground presented by unprecedented new times. But I'm incredibly pleased that OPITO and industry have agreed that we have the technology, staff and methods to meet the expected standards, and ultimately we received the world's first approvals from OPITO to deliver the OIM CE and CROER assessments online. But for us, the challenges simply do not end with OPITO's approval. Our next challenge is promoting industry awareness of the new options and explaining the methods of delivery so as to alleviate any apprehension or scepticism that may exist towards embracing the new online methods, which are perfectly understandable reactions given this is a bold new change. But we are completely committed to continuing this method into a new era and embracing the digitalisation of many of the things we do. We have also made these online assessments more accessible globally through increasing our network of cooperative learning sites and through their respective clients, though it must always be appreciated that the assessments will be appropriately initiated and delivered from our OPITO approved hub here in KL. I strongly encourage anyone interested or sceptical as to the concept to make an inquiry and test the process for yourselves. Put somebody on the course. Make your own opinion based on an informed decision. I thank you for your time and extend the offer for absolutely anyone at any time to contact me personally with any other questions or concerns that I might be able to answer. Thanks for your time. Stay safe.